Most people see your extreme self-reliance as a superpower, but in reality, it is just a survival scar. If you had to grow up before you learned how to tie your shoelaces, your independence isn't a choice, it is a defense mechanism. Today we will look at the psychological tracks left by a childhood without support and how these old habits still invisibly run your adult life. Being a child who raised themselves isn't just about knowing how to cook pasta at 7 or doing homework without being reminded. It creates a specific brain setting that makes you feel like the world is a place where you can truly rely on only one person, yourself. Remember the moments when you realized that if you didn't do something, it simply wouldn't happen, whether it was clean laundry or finding emotional comfort. This leads to a trait psychologists call hyperindependence, which sounds great on a resume but is like an invisible cage in a real relationship. Hyperindependence is that nagging voice in your head telling you that asking for help is a sign of extreme weakness or a huge burden to others. Maybe you struggle to let your partner help with the dishes, or you feel a surge of panic when your boss offers to take some tasks off your plate. To you, giving up control is equal to losing safety, because in childhood, control was the only thing holding your world together. There is a deep-seated fear that if you lean on someone and they eventually let go, you will fall much harder than if you had stayed standing alone. This creates a strange paradox. You are the most reliable person in your group, yet you feel like you have no one to turn to yourself. You are the designated problem solver, the one who handles every crisis and whom everyone calls at 3 in the morning when their life is falling apart. But when your own life gets hard, you likely retreat into a shell, convinced that showing vulnerability will make people lose respect for your strength. The long-term consequence is a constant state of high-functioning anxiety that acts like a motor running in the back of your mind at all times. Since you had to be an adult while you were still small, your brain stayed in a state of high alert to predict problems before they even happened. This is exactly why adults who raise themselves are experts at reading the energy in a room or sensing a change in someone's mood before the first word is spoken. You became a little detective, constantly looking for signs of danger or signals that the person responsible for you was about to explode or leave. In adulthood, this manifests as an excessive effort to please everyone or perfectionism, because you feel your value depends on how little trouble you cause. You might also notice that it is incredibly difficult for you to relax, even when you are on vacation or have absolutely nothing on your to-do list. For a person who raised themselves, inactivity is dangerous because in childhood, doing nothing meant you weren't preparing for the next thing to go wrong. It is as if your nervous system is stuck in the past, still waiting for a parent to come home late or for the electricity to get cut off again. Let's talk about the emotional side, something called emotional self-silencing, where you completely stop sharing your needs. If no one listened to you when you suffered as a child, you learned that expressing pain is just a waste of energy and breath. Now, it might feel almost impossible to tell a partner that you feel lonely or that you are being crushed by the weight of the world on your shoulders. You might even feel shame when you have strong emotions, as if being human and having needs was something you should have outgrown long ago. This leads to a specific kind of loneliness. You are surrounded by people who love you, but none of them actually know the real version of you. They know the capable version, the strong version, and the version that never breaks, but they don't know the tired child inside who yearns to be taken care of. Another major effect is the feeling of being an outsider, as if you are a stranger watching people without knowing their secret code. Since you missed out on the phase of life where you could make mistakes and be cared for, you often feel older than all your peers. You look at people who have close and healthy relationships with their parents and feel a mix of confusion, envy, and maybe even a little judgment. It is hard to relate to people who grew up with a safety net when you spent your entire childhood sewing your own parachute during a free fall. This can also lead to a strange relationship with money and security. You never feel like you have enough, no matter how much is in the bank. You are constantly preparing for worse times, because you remember exactly what it was like to be in the rain without anyone to bring you an umbrella. The biggest challenge is learning that you no longer have to just survive, but you can start to actually live, which is much harder than it sounds for someone like you. It requires slowly lowering the walls and realizing that not everyone will let you down just because the people in your past did. Healing means understanding that your independence was a gift that got you through the storm, but it doesn't have to be a wall that blocks out the sun. You have been the hero of your own story your entire life, but even heroes occasionally need to take off their armor and simply breathe. You deserve a world where you don't have to carry everything alone, a world where being vulnerable doesn't mean being in danger, but being finally free.